This trial that's going on in New York City, there was a Buffalo executive as part of this, was it Percoco and Caballeros. And
Percoco was found guilty in March. Sorry.
Right. All as part of all of this, though, these developers, and this was a Buffalo developer that is on trial right now. Caballeros, a part of all of this. And he said some things yesterday that are actually dropped the F-bomb during the trial.
Really?
And it caused a great deal when he's saying that law firms, they were saying, stay away from Caballeros. Stay clear. We're not going to get involved with this Caballeros. This guy's dirty. And they ended up getting involved. And he's singing like a robin on trial. Do you like that? Do you like that a little bit, Butler?
I love it.
Singing like a robin. So, I mean, all of this corruption. And you know, Caballeros is Cuomo's guy. I mean, how do we just plow forward? How do we just plow forward and not pay attention to this?
Well, that is a great segue into this morning's discussion because we dealt extensively at the end of our legislative session with ethics and ethics reform. So we're right on top of that issue in Albany.
Is it? But did anything happen, though?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, all right. You're on
that
top.
was sarcasm.
Yeah. Okay. I enjoy that sarcasm. Yeah.
Yes,
so
that is one of the many issues that went unaddressed. And we get to the end of session, and I say it stopped more than ended. I mean, very little accomplishment, a very disappointing end to what I would consider a disappointing session this year.
Mark, can you talk about some of the things that you had brought up? First of all, can you talk about that Herkimer Diamonds thing?
Well, I can now, and they're called vanity bills, and a lot of people, put in, to make, I think milk is the state beverage, and, it goes on and on and on. But in this instance, we had a bill to make the Herkimer Diamond the state mineral because I guess we already have a state gem that was done before. And we put the bill in a few years ago, and in order to give it a better chance, I convinced a colleague in the majority to be the major sponsor, and I became a co-sponsor on it.
Which, by the way, you, as a member of the minority, that's how you got to get stuff done.
Quite often, that is the way it gets done, and our attitude is, we're more concerned with the results than the process. So that's the way it went down.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had it a few years ago, and we were just about to get it passed, and this cute little group of school kids came in and did a little show and presentation. They wanted yogurt to be the state snack. So the legislature, yes, we'll do yogurt as a state snack, which is fine. And again, it was another less than productive session that year, and they couldn't agree on a lot of things. So the newspapers and the media started hammering Sheldon Silver and others. You can pass bills like this, insignificant bills this, in a matter of hours. But these important issues that you need to be addressing, you can't get done. I heard one newspaper in Syracuse wrote that the only thing in New York older than Sheldon Silver is Herkimer Diamonds, and I think that kind of hit a chord. Yes, so we got this proviso: no more of these vanity bills. We're not going to waste our time on them. They're just ego things. So the whole thing dropped. So fast forward a couple of years to now, and as we all know, the GEMS
after the fire
building had a huge fire, and it destroyed their main building. And God bless them, they made a decision to come back bigger and stronger and better. There's a lot of construction that's still going on. So I talked to Renee Shaldo, the owner, and she said, boy, if we could get that bill passed this year, not only because of their rebuilding, she's rapidly expanding her business. She is quite an entrepreneur. She's doing business in Asia, in Europe.
It's incredible. People would be shocked to know what is going on over there. It's and how she's expanding. It's incredible.
It's some of the backup for this. She gave me the information, and I didn't even realize it. She said they get at their campgrounds there 150,000 visitors a year.
Yeah.
To
It's
Little Millville, New York.
Always
and
packed.
Out of those 150,000, 10%, 15,000 are not even from the United States. They're from foreign countries.
Yeah.
I mean, they come from all over the world to dig these unique crystals. So I think that's worth acknowledging.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I went to the guy and I said, we'd like to revive that bill, and it was just a mess. I talked to him. I talked to our leadership. It was on our list to get passed, and it's just one of those vanity bills. We're not in.
We don't do that anymore. Yeah.
No. And I'm watching the board as these bills are passing. We passed a very significant bill to create a distinctive license plate to honor the Jamaican bobsled team. There was another bill about making some song the national veterans hymn. And I said, how can you tell me you're not going to pass these bills? And he just smiled, and we moved on. But the point being,
who's going to
Mark? I hear all this happy talk about, we're in New York and we're open for business and we want to do all we can to cultivate business.
Yeah.
Here you had a perfect opportunity to and it wasn't a big deal. I mean,
sure,
but they could have incorporated that into their marketing. We're the state,
mineral.
Yeah. And they wouldn't.
Mark, who's going to pay to have? I can't wait for the first time I'm driving down the road and I see a Jamaican bobsled team license plate. Who's going to buy that? I can't even believe that even exists.
I'm telling you, Bill, if you sit there and watch some of these bills that come through there, your head would just explode.
Meanwhile, not a thing on gaming, not a thing on the marijuana issue.
We did do kind of a.
I know there's an opioid thing, right?
Update on the medical marijuana, but nothing on the opioid.
And then the corruption and the ethics and the lack thereof. Of all times to address this, it would be right now.
Now would be the time. Absolutely. Just very, very disappointing. And again, we get in. I was talking to a reporter. I said, it's kind of like these professional athletes. I watch these football players beat each other's brains out for 60 minutes. The last whistle blows, they shake hands. They probably go out and have a couple beers afterward. That's pretty much the way I view our relationships in the legislature. We respect each other as people, but I certainly have some questions about their way they want to go about making the state move forward. Another perfect example, and another issue that came up here at the end was this micro-stamping. I don't know if you followed any of that.
Okay.
All of a sudden, just like the SAFE Act, this bill just pops up out of the floor, and I'm on the Rules Committee, and that's the last step before you get out on the floor. And I looked at my colleagues, my Republican colleagues. I said, "Where did this bill?" Nobody knew anything about it or where it came from. And it is just an incredible piece of legislature. There's no technology for this. They passed a law in California in 2007, and here it is 11 years later, and they still have been unable to implement it. There's problem after problem after problem. But for us here with Remington Arms in the Valley, that sent a shiver up and down the Valley. I mean, you have the potential to sacrifice 1,000 jobs on the altar of political correctness. I just couldn't believe it. Fortunately, the bill we laid it aside, and you can lay aside a bill, and then it gets on the debate list and works its way up through the debate list, and they didn't even get to that this year. I think, some of the things that are going on, I think it's an election year, in what's going on in the Senate certainly influences us. I think there were efforts at the end to do deals on a variety of issues, and with the way the Senate is in such a confused state right now, I don't think any of that got done. I think everybody's looking forward to the election, and I just don't think there's an appetite to take on anything that was going to be too controversial this year in this session. So it was kind of, I won't say a waste of time, but I think we've missed a lot of opportunities.
All right, anything else?
One of the things, too, that you talked about was the lackluster attitude of the governor and some of the majority members. In your release, and Cuomo actually said it himself, well, everything that we should have passed is in the budget already, so let's just sit idly by.
That was another factor, and that was a little bit of a change. A lot of things that we feel should have been acted on legislatively, they tried to get in the budget. Some of them were ultimately negotiated out, but that was a new tactic to make it part of the budget. So that this year there are a lot of these extraneous issues that really interjected into the whole debate there at the end and kind of prevented us from making any progress.
And there was no, hey, we have to get stuff done. We're going to stay through the weekend. There was, let's get out of here.
Well, like I said, a lot of the major issues had already been looked at and addressed, and so we didn't have that usual.
Yeah.
These backroom discussions were going on trying to cut these deals, and they keep us busy. We do these one-house bills. A one-house bill is a bill that doesn't have a Senate sponsor, but, they get it through and passed, and you debate them, and it's, I've got somebody from the Senate that's all ready to sign on to this. There's like 3 hours left in session, but this has every chance to become a law. Well, we know it's not so, but it gives you a chance to do a fancy press release. I did a bill to do this, and the Republicans in the Senate blocked it. I
think we should mess with them, and everybody in this listening audience today should call up and try to order the Jamaican bobsled license plate today. So they're like, wow, this thing was much bigger than we thought. I never realized there was such a demand in Utica, of all places. So.
Well, and don't forget, while all this was going on, these were my last days and hours, at least in the Albany session. So that kind of maybe influenced my view of things. I look at the Mohawk Valley, and you know what? They're going to be losing what, in my estimation, is the best assemblyman in the last century based on substantive issues.
Yes.
Probably, is his name the humble Marc Butler? Is that who you're talking about?
That's just my opinion.
Well, what are you? You're. This is you've been taking classes at the Claudia Tenney School of Public Discourse.
Oh, I knew you'd bring her name up sooner or later.
All right. Well, listen, Mark, we appreciate it, and there'll be you still have months to go to take care of your constituents.
That's right. I will be serving to the end of the session or end of the year, and I suspect we may have to go back. There are some issues that were left on the table that we may have to go back to Albany and clean up at some point.
All right, nice. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mark, as always.
Always a pleasure, Bill.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a great day, Assemblyman Marc Butler, in his final days in the Assembly. We'll break.